Supreme Court, there's been a bunch of Supreme Court decisions out, and I'll just go through them quickly in just a moment. But one from a few days back is particularly shocking, that the United States is now apparently down with slavery, child slavery. And we will be getting into that with a senior litigation attorney for Earth Rights International, Rick Hertz. In our second hour of the program, Tim Murphy from Mother Jones has done a deep dive. This is fascinating. A deep dive into Kirsten Sinema, into her background, into her life, into who she is, what she says she's all about. And normally I would just go off on a rant about this, but he has really done some extraordinary reporting here, and Tim is going to drop by for a few minutes, and then we can discuss that at some length. And I want to start the hour, and we're going to get to Ron DeSantis, and we're going to get all kinds of other craziness, but I want to start the idea with Merrick Garland at the Department of Justice. But first, just to bring you up to date on what has happened in the last 24 hours. The Supreme Court, there was a cheerleader who went off on a profanity-laced rant on TikTok or one of the video platforms, who was suspended as a consequence of that. The Supreme Court ruled in her favor and said, hey, she's not in school. The Republican Party of Michigan, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. The Supreme Court also said that if you're a farmer in California and you don't want union organizers on your property, it's private property, you can keep them off. This actually, it was struck down a law that California had passed back in the Cesar Chavez era back in the 70s, to provide a right to unionize. They said that the police cannot enter your home without a warrant. So, it's kind of a mixed bag today. But the thing that really concerns me, and this is what I was writing about today over at HartmannReport.com, is Merrick Garland and the Justice Department. On Monday of this week, right, 2 days ago, the Biden-Garland Justice Department defended Donald Trump against a lawsuit by the ACLU of the District of Columbia and Black Lives Matter for beating and gassing people, in the little square, what used to be called Lafayette Square, I think it's now called Black Lives Matter Square, right across the street from the White House, beating them and gassing them to clear the area so that Donald Trump could come out and wave a Bible around for a photo op. This is in front of St. John's Church, as I recall. And this case went before a federal judge, Dabney Friedrich, or Friedrich. I don't know if she uses the German pronunciation or not. The U.S. District Court judge of the District of Columbia. She's a multimillionaire corporate lawyer who was appointed by Donald Trump in 2017 after the Federalist Society said, yep, do that. And who also struck down the CDC's moratorium on evictions. You'll recall, that was last month. She just ruled in favor of Donald Trump and Bill Barr throwing out most of these lawsuits. Scott Michelman of the ACLU, these lawsuits relative to their, attacking protesters across the street from the White House so that Trump could have his photo op. And Scott Michelman of the ACLU said in D.C., he said, quote, today's ruling, this is, a couple days ago, today's ruling essentially gives the federal government a green light to use violence, including lethal force, against demonstrators as long as federal officials claim to be protecting national security. Right. Yeah, he goes on to say, under today's decision, Lafayette Square is now a Constitution-free zone. And not only is this decision a stunning rejection of our constitutional values and protesters' First Amendment rights, but it effectively places federal officials above the law. So that would be bad enough, right? A Trump-appointed right-wing, hardcore, multimillionaire corporate lawyer judge says, no, protesters don't have the right to protest, and Donald Trump and Bill Barr had the right to gas them and beat them, injure them, physically injure them for protesting. That would be bad enough. But to make it worse, Donald Trump and Bill Barr had been defended in this case. Again, this was Monday of this week. Had been defended in this case by Merrick Garland, by Joe Biden's Department of Justice. Now, I thought we had a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and petition our government for redress of grievance. I mean, that's the language in the First Amendment. But apparently not when Donald Trump is president, and apparently not when Merrick Garland is head of the DOJ, which has got me really scratching my head. I mean, this is just one of several examples. Back on May 5th, Judge Amy Berman Jackson, federal judge, D.C. federal judge, ruled that Donald Trump, let me rephrase this, ruled that when Robert Mueller was investigating Donald Trump colluding or attempting to collude with Russia and then trying to cover it up, and you know the old phrase, the cover-up's always worse than the crime. Trump tried to cover this thing up, and in the process of trying to cover it up, whether his collusion was successful or not is almost a peripheral issue. In trying to cover it up, Robert Mueller documents in the Mueller report 10 specific examples of felony obstruction of justice committed personally by Donald Trump himself. So the Department of Justice under Bill Barr, while Trump was still president, had a couple of lawyers write up a legal brief saying, this is just fine. Donald Trump did not commit a crime. We shouldn't prosecute him for these things. And we shouldn't even hand over the information to the next administration so that they can prosecute him. So this federal judge, Judge Jackson, says, no. I mean, this is, in fact, she asks a rhetorical question first. She says, this is in her official decision, right? She says, so why did the Attorney General's advisors, she's talking about Bill Barr, at his request, create a memorandum that evaluated the prospective merit, the prosecutive merit of the facts amassed by the special counsel? Why? Well, and then she answers her own rhetorical question. She says, lifting the curtain reveals the answer to that, too. Getting a jump on public relations. This was when Bill Barr was lying about what was in the Mueller report. And she ordered that this whole thing be made public. Guess who's withholding it from not only the public, but from Congress? Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. And then E. Jean Carroll. She accused Donald Trump of rape. He comes out and says, no, she's not my type. She's not pretty enough to rape, essentially is what he said. And so she sues him for defamation, and Bill Barr steps in to defend him. And now Merrick Garland is defending Donald Trump. And in all three of these cases, the argument that Garland is making, now, first of all, you know, you would be forgiven if you thought, okay, you know, the Justice Department has got, what, like 30,000 employees? It's got tens of thousands of employees. And there are still a bunch of Trump appointees in there and people that were hired during Trump's presidency who aren't appointees but have jobs there who are no doubt Trump humpers and just right-wing Republican crazies. I mean, prosecutorial staffs like police tend to draw such people, authoritarians. So you could be forgiven for thinking that, you know, this just slid by Merrick Garland and he didn't notice what was going on. All three of these cases where the Department of Justice is actively defending Donald Trump and Bill Barr. But you would be wrong. Because on June 9th of this month, just a couple weeks ago, Merrick Garland was dragged before Congress to answer for this, and Pat Leahy, the Democrat from Vermont in the U.S. Senate, who himself was a U.S. attorney. He was a federal prosecutor for, you know, half his life. Says to the Attorney General, who used to be his boss, not Merrick Garland specifically, but, you know, he used to work, he used to answer to the Attorney General. Pat Leahy is like, what the hell? And Merrick Garland says, well, you know, Trump was just doing his job, and it's our job to defend the president. When the president speaks out loud about things that are of public interest, then, you know, that is his job. I mean, this is just incredible. And Pat Leahy was, you know, just astonished. This is, it's just, essentially, Trump was doing his job and Bill Barr was doing his job when they gassed protesters and beat them. Trump was doing his job when he slandered or libeled E. Jean Carroll. You know, Bill Barr and Donald Trump were just doing their job when they hid Trump's collusion with Russia and his cover-up of it and his 10 instances of obstruction of justice that Robert Mueller documented. You know, when Richard Nixon was accused of criminal activity, his attorney general was a guy named John Mitchell. And John Mitchell tried to cover up Nixon's criminal activity. Mitchell, it turns out, had been Nixon's campaign manager and was actually involved in that criminal activity. But nonetheless, he tried to cover it up at the Department of Justice, and he went to prison for it. When Bill Clinton got busted in the Paula Jones case for lying under oath about having sex with Monica Lewinsky, the Department of Justice didn't ride in on their high horse and say, we're here to defend Bill Clinton. He had to hire a whole army of private lawyers, and in fact, he didn't finish paying them off until 2005. It cost so much money. It took him 5 years to raise enough money to pay off his lawyers. I mean, nobody said that, you know, breaking into the DNC headquarters and lying about it like Nixon did, or having sex with Monica and lying about it like Clinton did, were normal parts of a president's job, and therefore the Department of Justice had to defend them. I mean, you could argue that John Mitchell tried to say that, but he went to prison for that. I'm seriously thinking that Merrick Garland is out of his depth. I have a lot of respect for the guy as a lawyer. I have a lot of respect for him as the guy who prosecuted Tim McVeigh back in the day. But this is beyond the pale. So, you know, I'm publicly saying I think it's time for the Biden administration to seriously consider a new attorney general. I realize Joe Biden said, I'm going to be hands-off with the Department of Justice, and that's probably going to prevent what I'm suggesting from happening. But damn, this is wrong. Anyhow, we'll be back. Stick around.